But you know what? We can make fun of those religious leaders and how stupid they were. But we do exactly the same thing because we've got this Bible. We've got this Bible. And so many of us and so many denominations have taken this Bible and every single thing that we can find in here that's remotely like a rule. And we've taken it and we've turned it into a system of rules. And we've added all of this stuff on top of it, things that weren't even in the Bible, and it's all this very surface level stuff, external stuff. And I know this because that's how I grew up. I grew up in a very legalistic church, legalistic denomination. In this denomination, they just taught that your whole Christianity is just following a bunch of rules. And it was always about the external things. It was always about what you look like, the way you dress, the way you wear your hair, the way you speak, what you listen to, what kind of music you listen to, what kind of movies you watch, things that the long list of don'ts. You can't drink alcohol, you can't dance, you can't, do all this stuff. It's always about surface level stuff. Never, ever, ever was I taught about a relationship with Jesus. It wasn't even in their minds. They had no idea that such a thing even existed. And that is what happens when you try to turn this invitation that God has extended to us for a relationship, and you take it and you say, "No, God, I don't need you. I can do this myself." And you turn it into a bunch of rules. And that is legalistic religion. And it doesn't save anybody. In fact, it turns people into monsters, because people who are doing that, they're doing the same thing that the religious leaders were doing in Jesus' day. They were trying desperately to save themselves, even if they weren't conscious that that's what they were doing. That's still what they were doing. They didn't have a relationship with Jesus. They were trying to be really, really good at following the rules. And see, here's the thing. If these are things, these rules, if that's what saves you by being really good at following the rules, then you can never mess up. And see, we have to be perfect, because that's basically what is required in order for us to save ourselves, is perfection. And you know as well as I do that none of us can be perfect. When none of us can be perfect, that's why we need to be saved from Jesus Christ. Okay? And so the reason why these people who try to just turn all of this into following rules, they're so miserable, is because their whole goal, everything that they're trying to do, is impossible. And because they can't be wrong, because they have to be right about this in order for this method of salvation to work, then they have to try to enforce it on everybody else. And that's why people like this, who are very legalistic, they tend to be very narrow-minded, very judgmental, because there's no room for anybody to be any different than what they believe, these rules that they're following. And they don't understand grace or mercy, because they are not living in the grace and mercy of Jesus. Because the grace and mercy of Jesus says that you don't earn your salvation. You can't do anything for it. While you were still a sinner, Jesus died for you. So they don't understand that. And so they are not able to give grace and mercy to other people. And it is a very, very miserable existence. And I know about it because I grew up that way. And I knew a lot of people who were living that way and trying to live. And a lot of them, they're not trying to be bad people. They just have no idea. They've never been taught that there's any other way. Seriously, I never heard anybody talk about a relationship with Jesus. And that's one of the reasons why I do this podcast, because I want to talk about it. I pray that people who are stuck in that the religion of rules, somebody will hear it and be free, because I was freed of it. I was freed of it. Thank you, Jesus. And the reason why it doesn't work, this following rules instead of a relationship with Jesus, the reason why it doesn't work is because once you have a system of rules that you can follow, following Jesus for dummies, following Jesus 101, here's 100 rules to follow, whatever. Once you have that, then that takes God out of the equation. Because then all of us naturally rule-following people can just follow the rules. And so it becomes totally this external thing. And so it's very similar to the whole process of salvation. So you know how we talked about the first 2 weeks of this series, that you're not saved by doing it. We can't earn salvation. So the external things that you do not save you. Like, you're not saved by praying the sinner's prayer, going to church, getting baptized or confirmed. None of those things save you. What those are supposed to be is a reflection of what's actually happening inside, because the salvation is an internal and invisible thing that happens to you inside your soul and your mind and your heart. So it's the same thing with the sanctification process. It's very easy for a lot of people just to go through the process to add these things to their life and treat it as just a list of, check the boxes after you get these things done. But nothing internal is happening. There's no internal shift. There's no relationship. It's very easy for us to turn it into that. So we have to watch out for that. We have to be careful that is not going to happen. Because it might be easier to follow the rules, but that is not going to save you. And that might very well turn you into a monster. And following rules does not accomplish sanctification.